A police uniform is meant to represent safety, authority, trust, but sometimes that same uniform becomes camouflage. Tonight, we uncover some of the most disturbing betrayals in British policing. These are not rumors. These are not myths. These are real officers, real crimes, and real victims. Tonight, we expose the moment when the badge stopped protecting and started destroying lives. Case 1, David Carrick, the monster behind the Met badge. To the public, David Carrick was elite, an armed officer in the Metropolitan Police, assigned to parliamentary and diplomatic protection, a man trusted to guard embassies, politicians, and national secrets. But behind closed doors, Carrick was something else entirely. For nearly 2 decades, from 2003 to 2020, he lived a double life, one built on fear, control, and cruelty. Carrick hunted women through dating apps. Badu Tinder. He presented himself as calm, reliable, protective. And once they trusted him, the nightmare began. Inside his home in Stevenage, women were stripped of dignity and sometimes clothing itself. Some were forced to live naked in cupboards under the stairs. Others were beaten with belts, starved, degraded, and filmed. He tracked victims with hidden cameras, used police-issued handcuffs to rape them, threatened them with his gun, and when they begged for help, he would say the words that silenced them. "Who would believe you? I'm a police officer." One woman lost so much weight under his control, she dropped from a size 14 to a size 6. Another was forced to swallow his urine. Others were branded, choked, threatened with knives, and told they were property. 12 known victims, dozens of crimes, and 8 prior complaints that went ignored. Carrick wasn't exposed by vigilance, he was exposed by coincidence. Only after another Met officer was convicted of murder in 2021 did scrutiny finally reach him. When investigators looked closely, the evidence was overwhelming. Carrick pleaded guilty to 49 charges, including 24 counts of rape. At sentencing, the judge called his actions monstrous, a calculated abuse of power carried out in plain sight. He received 36 life sentences, with a minimum of 30 years behind bars. In court, Carrick sat in a gray prison tracksuit. No badge, no authority, no powers. Outside, one victim said quietly, "For the first time, I feel heard." The fallout was seismic. The Met admitted catastrophic failures. The police watchdog confirmed Carrick had been protected by silence and inaction. His case forced the UK to confront a brutal truth. A uniform does not equal safety, and authority without accountability becomes a weapon. Case 2, Wayne Couzens, when the law itself became the trap. Sarah Everard did everything right. She walked in a well-lit area. She called her boyfriend. She followed every rule women are told will keep them safe. It didn't matter, because the danger wore a badge. Wayne Couzens was a serving Metropolitan Police officer, trusted with guarding government buildings. On the night of March 3, 2021, he was not protecting the public. He was hunting. Couzens hired a white car days earlier. He carried handcuffs. He carried his police warrant card. When he stopped Sarah on a London street, he didn't abduct her by force. He arrested her, claiming she had violated COVID regulations. He used his authority to detain her. Witnesses saw it happen and assumed it was legitimate. That's the most terrifying part. He drove her out of London, raped her, then strangled her with his police belt. After killing her, Couzens burned her body, stuffed the remains into a builder's bag, dumped her in a pond. Then he went home, tried to wipe his phone, lied about being blackmailed. But policing tools, CCTV, license plate recognition, cell tower data exposed him. Sarah's body was identified through dental records. Couzens eventually pleaded guilty. In September 2021, he was sentenced to a whole life order. He will never be released. The judge said his crime represented a gross abuse of police powers of the gravest kind. The nation erupted in grief and rage. Vigils were held. Women spoke openly about fear. And when police disrupted a vigil for Sarah, public trust fractured further. An inquiry later revealed the unthinkable. Couzens had a history of indecent exposure. Colleagues had nicknamed him the rapist, and yet he was allowed to remain an officer. The Met reviewed 1,000 officers after his conviction. New rules were introduced. Suspensions became mandatory, but none of it brought Sarah back. Her murder didn't just expose one man. It exposed a system that failed to protect and empowered the wrong person. The first two cases shattered public confidence, but the pattern didn't stop there. Some officers didn't need patrol cars or dating apps. Their crimes unfolded quietly in car parks, on doorsteps, and inside police stations. This is where betrayal becomes personal. Case 3, Timothy Bremer, the lie that killed. The truth didn't surface in an interrogation room. It surfaced in a car park with a single text message. Timothy Bremer was a Dorset police constable, seconded to the National Police Air Service. Respected, charismatic, married to another police officer. But behind the image was a web of secrets. For nearly a decade, Bremer had been having an affair with Claire Perry, a nurse, a mother of 2, and a woman who believed him when he said he'd leave his wife. On May 9, 2020, Claire discovered the truth. Not just one affair, several. In the car park of a pub in Dorset, she confronted him. She took his phone and sent one message to his wife: "I am cheating on you." Bremer later described what followed as a melee. The evidence said otherwise. Inside his small Citroën, Bremer wrapped his arm around Claire's neck. He applied sustained pressure, long enough to starve her brain of oxygen. She suffered 31 separate injuries. She went into cardiac arrest, and she died the next day. After killing her, Bremer staged a story. He stabbed himself, claimed Claire attacked him, wiped his phone within minutes, erasing potential evidence. But forensics don't lie. Pathologists confirmed strangulation. Witnesses saw him covered in blood, and his accounts kept changing. Bremer denied murder, pleaded manslaughter. In 2020, the jury rejected murder but convicted him of manslaughter. His initial sentence, just 10.5 years. The reaction was immediate and furious. Domestic abuse charities called it a failure of justice. Claire's partner called the sentence an insult to her life. The Court of Appeal intervened. Bremer's sentence was increased to 13 years and 6 months. Judges cited manipulation, lies, and his failure to seek help. This case left a chilling reminder. Respectability can be a disguise. Emotional control often comes before physical violence, and the most dangerous confrontations happen when lies are exposed. Case 4, Benjamin Monk, when force becomes fatal. Sometimes the abuse of power happens in seconds. In the early hours of August 15, 2016, former Premier League footballer Dalian Atkinson was in crisis outside his father's home. He was unwell, bleeding, confused. He needed help. What he encountered was PC Benjamin Monk. Monk had served 12 years with West Mercia Police. He was taser trained, authorized for high-risk incidents. Atkinson was agitated, shouting incoherently, but he was unarmed. Monk fired his taser. Once, twice, then a third time, holding the trigger for 33 seconds, more than 6 times the recommended duration. Atkinson collapsed, but Monk didn't stop. As Atkinson lay on the ground, helpless, Monk kicked him twice in the head with such force that his boot marks were left on Atkinson's forehead. Minutes later, Atkinson suffered cardiac arrest. He died shortly after reaching hospital. Monk claimed self-defense, said he couldn't remember kicking him. The evidence destroyed that claim. Medical experts confirmed excessive force, bruising across the body, kicks that contributed directly to death. The investigation dragged on for 5 years. In 2021, Monk was convicted of manslaughter, the first serving officer in over 30 years to be convicted for killing someone on duty in England or Wales. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The judge called it a terrible abuse of public trust. Atkinson's family called it horrendous violence. This case forced the public to confront an uncomfortable truth. Mental health crisis is not a crime. De-escalation saves lives, and unchecked authority can kill. Case 5, Stephen Mitchell, the predator in the station. Some predators don't stalk streets. They wait behind desks. Stephen Mitchell was a Northumbria police officer, operating out of Pilgrim Street Police Station in Newcastle. Between 1999 and 2007, he terrorized vulnerable women, addicts, shoplifters, women struggling with mental health. He targeted those least likely to be believed. Mitchell offered help, then demanded sex. He tracked women using police databases, lied about arrest warrants, drove victims in marked police cars. One woman, Candace Trotter, described being driven to a lorry park, handcuffed to a steering wheel and raped. Others were blackmailed, threatened with losing their children. One was controlled for over 3 years. Despite complaints, Mitchell remained in uniform. 16 women eventually came forward. In 2010, he was convicted of rape, indecent assault, and misconduct in public office. The judge called him a ruthless sexual predator. He received 2 life sentences, with a minimum of 7.5 years. Then came the shock. In 2018, Mitchell was released on parole. Public outrage exploded. Even his own daughter said, "He should be back inside. Outside, he will hurt someone." The case forced sweeping reforms. Misconduct hearings made public, stricter vetting, monitoring of police computer access, national corruption reporting rules. But for the victims, the damage was permanent. Mitchell's story proves something devastating. Predators thrive where silence protects them. Uniforms don't guarantee integrity. And justice doesn't end at conviction. 5 cases, 5 officers, 1 disturbing pattern. Power without accountability breeds abuse. Trust without scrutiny invites catastrophe. Behind every uniform is a human being, capable of honor or horror. And when those sworn to protect choose violence instead, the betrayal cuts deeper than any crime. We don't look away. We don't soften the truth, because justice begins where silence ends.